I work for the Pinelands Preservation Alliance, which is a environmental advocacy group. That background's important to me only because this project is a real extension of my organization's vision of itself and what it does, and an extension of anything that I've done before in my life. The Hammonton Health Coalition, I think, is extraordinary in part because the geopolitical context in which we are working in South Jersey is one where this coalition is surprising. It consists of a great range of elements of our society. We have the town council and the mayor, the school district and the superintendent, the business community represented through the Main Street Business Organization and the Chamber of Commerce, social service organizations like Ivette's Allies in Caring, and an organization called CATA that is devoted to the needs of immigrant farm workers. Healthcare providers, the South Jersey Family Medical Center, and Stockton University are involved. So you've got a range of people, and what to me is extraordinary given where we are is that range of organizations, of interests, of backgrounds have come to a consensus that Hammonton is a great town. It's got all sorts of great stuff going on, a lot of good things happening. It's a town on the rise. Business and life is improving in many ways, but we also have a real problem, and that problem is an ethnic problem based on the fact that about 30% of the population is Latino or Latinx, and is not participating collectively in the town's resources and services to the extent that the majority white population is. And that there's a challenge there. There's a great opportunity for the town and for all the things that are happening in the town, but it's also a real challenge. In most South Jersey towns, you would not see that collection of, let's say, call them town leaders, being willing to address this issue the way we are in Hammonton. And I'm really impressed that it's happened. There's a recognition that there's a big challenge in the town, that it does have an ethnic origin, it has a language origin, and it has an origin in immigration stress because of the policies of our national government. So with that, I'll turn it over to my colleague Ivette.
So I want to say that how we came together, it started also when we organized, I participated in the Creative Hammonton, and then that was about at the time that we were dealing with the political campaign, the new election, and there was a lot of stress in my community, in the Latino community. And when I went to the Creative New Jersey, I met people that, despite their opinions, they show this caring, and I found that some hope that we can work on some similar concerns, like maybe a person had experienced, someone in their family had mental illness or dealing with addiction. So that there are things that don't that touch just human beings, right? And that we could connect with that, what touches every human being, and. So we started working together, and as we brought the people together, the other area where we found a connection is in the school. So as Carleton mentioned, the superintendent mentioned that a concern in the school was that 45% of the students are eligible for free lunch. And we know that poverty impacts everyone in the school, because when one kid is not doing well in school, the teacher has to spend more time, and that affects the other kids. So it's better for all of us to care about those who are not doing very well. And our project then became to create a culture of inclusion. There's a lot of research that talks about how communities, when they are together, when there is social cohesion, they tend to be safer. People tend to also keep their communities in better shape. Also, there is a lot less violence. So when communities start falling apart, we see not only more violence in the community, but also in the families, right? And that impacts everybody. And then we also see research that shows how when there is social capital, like when the people have trust. When people feel that they belong, they tend to volunteer more. When they trust their authorities and they trust each other, they tend to do more. Economically, it's much better for everyone. So that's why we are focusing on creating a culture of inclusion in a place that is very divided politically. And what we are trying to find is where can we find areas where we can connect, and also everybody, like what I've discovered is that everybody cares about something. But sometimes, and so we stay in our comfort zone of what we care and what matters to us, and our job now as a coalition is to see if we can stretch that a little bit more, so that rather than just caring about your circle, your family, or your tribe, can you then see that this other kid in the school is not the same color than your kid. It doesn't have the same values or doesn't eat the same or whatever, but it's also a kid. And your kid goes to school, to the same school, and it's going to impact everybody. So that's what we are trying to do. And how we are doing it is that one is example that we had an event in March. We have had 2 events, but this is the last one, where we invited everybody in the community to come together and explore what is it that they see that is working in Hammonton, what is not working, and what do we want to create together. And our focus is on also not discovering assets. Who in the community has leadership skills? Who in the community has something that could be offered to address the impact of poverty? And I want to give some examples of how this looks like. So one of the examples is that we have members of the community that strongly believe everybody should be learning, like the Latino community should be learning English. And that's true, because that will help the students do their homework, and the parents can advocate for the kids. They can, when they go to the doctor, the parents can speak for themselves rather than using their kids as interpreters. So it's great, but sometimes the parents have 2 jobs or 3 jobs, or they cannot afford childcare while they are like learning English. So what we decided is to look for people who could volunteer, teach English, and then also there was this group of grandmothers who learned about our coalition, who were just getting together for tea and decided they wanted to do something more than that and approach us. So we asked them if they could provide childcare. And so in that way, the collaboration of them having childcare, and these mothers are non-Latinos, so the grandmothers. So this is an opportunity where, like, the assets of the community, even if there is poverty, but there are other assets. People have time that they can offer, so that's a great asset. And then these other people have English skills, so that's another thing that can help this other community. Another example is poverty also affects, has an impact in obesity, has a connection with obesity. So some of the kids of these parents who work 2 or 3 jobs don't have the same opportunity to participate in sports because they don't have anyone to transport them, or they don't have money to pay for the registration or uniforms. So through our Facebook page, we identified who in the community could offer transportation and who could offer like the uniforms that they wanted to pass them on to other people. So that way we discovered some people who were willing to do that, who were willing to offer transportation. And in this event, we were exploring also what our intention as we move forward is to continue discovering what are the assets that people have, and how can we then bring together those assets to make this community better. And we are